Crumbling bridges, pothole-ridden roads, and unreliable power grids welcome to America's infrastructure crisis. In 2024, these aren't just inconveniences, they're daily realities for millions. From coast to coast, our nation's backbone is showing its age. Today, we're counting down the top 10 USA states with most outdated infrastructure in 2024. But before we jump into the list, I want to take a moment to thank you for your support. We work hard to bring you the best travel content, and if you enjoy our videos, please subscribe to the My Globe Trips YouTube channel. Now, let's dive into the list. Number 10, California, the Golden State, comes in at number 10, but its aging infrastructure is far from shining. Approximately 37% of its major roads are in poor or mediocre condition, leading to increased car repair costs and fuel inefficiency. The situation worsens with 8.1% of California's bridges deemed structurally deficient, raising serious safety concerns. Additionally, 25% of the state's water mains are over 100 years old, risking water service disruptions and infrastructure failures. California's vast population and rapid urbanization have overwhelmed its aging systems, making modernization a pressing need. California's infrastructure issues extend beyond just roads and bridges. The state's public transportation systems, particularly in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, are heavily congested and outdated. Despite efforts to promote high-speed rail and other public transit initiatives, these projects have faced significant delays and budget overruns. Furthermore, the state grapples with frequent wildfires and natural disasters, which place additional stress on its already fragile infrastructure. These environmental challenges make it critical for California to prioritize resilience and sustainability in its infrastructure development to ensure long-term viability. Number 9, New York. This state faces severe infrastructure challenges despite its global stature. About 30% of New York's roads are in poor or mediocre condition, with potholes and uneven surfaces becoming the norm. Even more concerning is the state of New York's bridges, where 10.5% are classified as structurally deficient. The famous New York City subway system is showing its age as well, with the average subway car being 40 years old, contributing to frequent delays and breakdowns. With infrastructure in decline, the Empire State must address these issues urgently. In addition to roads and bridges, New York's airports and ports are in need of modernization. As one of the busiest hubs for international travel and trade, outdated facilities at JFK and LaGuardia airports are notorious for causing delays and inefficiencies. Additionally, the state's energy grid is strained, with aging infrastructure struggling to meet the growing demand, especially during extreme weather events. The need for upgrades across multiple sectors in New York is urgent, not only to improve efficiency but also to maintain its status as a global economic powerhouse. Number 8, Oklahoma, with its roads and bridges requiring significant attention. A worrying 33% of the state's roads are in poor or mediocre condition, and 11.6% of its bridges are structurally deficient. On top of that, Oklahoma is prone to power outages, averaging 8 per year. The combination of deteriorating transportation infrastructure and inconsistent power supply severely hampers the state's economic growth and quality of life. Beyond transportation, Oklahoma's outdated infrastructure includes its public utilities. The state is heavily dependent on aging energy infrastructure, including natural gas and coal-fired power plants. The electrical grid, prone to outages, is not only a frustration for residents but also a barrier to economic growth and modernization. Oklahoma's aging water systems also face significant challenges, with many communities relying on infrastructure that struggles to meet modern standards of safety and reliability. Without proper investment, Oklahoma risks falling further behind in maintaining essential services for its residents. Number 7, Mississippi. With 35% of its roads in disrepair, drivers face challenging conditions that contribute to higher vehicle maintenance costs. The situation is just as bleak for bridges, with 12.3% being structurally deficient. Water infrastructure is also a growing concern, as 30% of the state's water systems are over 50 years old. This poses a potential risk to public health and the state's ability to deliver reliable water services. Mississippi's infrastructure challenges go deeper, particularly in rural areas where access to reliable services like internet and clean water is inconsistent. The state ranks near the bottom in broadband internet availability, which stymies educational opportunities and economic development in its more remote areas. Additionally, Mississippi faces frequent flooding, which further strains its already outdated water management systems. Improving the state's infrastructure is not just about repairing roads and bridges, it's about ensuring that all Mississippians have access to modern services that support economic opportunity and public health. Number 6. Louisiana, grappling with infrastructure that is both outdated and vulnerable to natural disasters. Nearly 40% of the state's roads are in poor or mediocre condition, and 13.2% of its bridges are in urgent need of repair. Adding to the challenge, over 50% of the state's levees critical for flood protection are rated as high risk, making Louisiana especially susceptible to flooding. These combined issues signal an urgent need for investment in resilient infrastructure. Louisiana's vulnerability to hurricanes and flooding makes its infrastructure challenges even more pressing. The state's stormwater and drainage systems are outdated and insufficient to handle increasingly frequent and intense storms. This puts many communities, especially those in coastal and low-lying areas, at risk of catastrophic flooding. Additionally, Louisiana's ports, which are crucial to the U.S. economy as a gateway for agricultural and energy exports, are in dire need of upgrades to remain competitive in global markets. The intersection of climate risk and aging infrastructure makes Louisiana one of the most urgent cases for modernization. Number 5. Pennsylvania. Their infrastructure struggles under the weight of age and neglect. About 38% of its roads are in poor or mediocre condition, and a staggering 15% of its bridges are structurally deficient. Water infrastructure is another challenge, as 20% of Pennsylvania's water mains are over a century old. The state's crumbling infrastructure poses significant risks to safety, public health, and economic vitality. In Pennsylvania, the aging infrastructure is also affecting the state's economy, particularly in the manufacturing sector. The state's industrial hubs rely on outdated transportation networks that struggle to support modern logistics and freight operations. Pennsylvania's energy infrastructure, especially in the coal and natural gas sectors, also faces significant challenges as the state transitions to cleaner energy sources. Without investment in modernizing both the state's energy grid and transportation systems, Pennsylvania risks losing its competitive edge in key industries that have historically driven its economy. Number 4. New Jersey, with an alarming 42% of its roads in poor or mediocre condition. Additionally, 9.2% of the state's bridges are structurally deficient. The average New Jersey transit bus is 12 years old, leading to frequent delays and service interruptions. Without timely upgrades, New Jersey's deteriorating infrastructure threatens to affect both commuters and businesses alike. New Jersey's infrastructure woes extend beyond transportation. The state's aging wastewater treatment facilities are in dire need of modernization, with many systems struggling to keep up with both demand and environmental regulations. As a densely populated state, New Jersey is also vulnerable to storm surges and flooding, particularly in coastal regions. The lack of investment in stormwater management infrastructure has led to frequent flooding in residential and commercial areas, causing millions in damages each year. Addressing these issues is critical to maintaining the state's economic vitality and protecting its residents. Number 3. Hawaii, with 35% of its roads in poor or mediocre condition. Approximately 15% of the state's bridges are classified as structurally deficient, and residents face an average of 10 power outages annually. As a remote island state, Hawaii's reliance on aging infrastructure presents serious challenges for transportation and energy reliability. Hawaii's geographic isolation makes its infrastructure challenges unique. The state relies heavily on imported goods and energy, and its outdated ports and energy grids are ill-equipped to handle the demands of its growing population and tourism industry. Additionally, Hawaii faces significant challenges with coastal erosion and rising sea levels, which threaten critical infrastructure like highways and airports. Without proactive investment in climate-resilient infrastructure, Hawaii's economy and environment will face increasing risks from natural disasters and long-term environmental changes. Number 2. Rhode Island, with an astonishing 45% of its roads in poor or mediocre condition. An alarming 23% of its bridges are structurally deficient, among the highest in the country. Additionally, 25% of the state's water mains are over 100 years old, putting its aging water infrastructure under significant strain. Rhode Island's small size doesn't diminish the magnitude of its infrastructure problems, which require immediate attention. Rhode Island's aging infrastructure also impacts its healthcare system. Many of the state's hospitals and healthcare facilities are in need of modernization to meet current safety standards and technological advancements. Additionally, Rhode Island's aging public schools face similar challenges, with deteriorating buildings and outdated facilities hindering the educational experience. The state's small size and population make it tempting to overlook these infrastructure problems, but without serious investment, Rhode Island risks long-term declines in quality of life and economic opportunity. Number 1. West Virginia, the most outdated infrastructure in 2024. A shocking 40% of the state's roads are in poor or mediocre condition, making travel hazardous for drivers. Worse, 20% of its bridges are in poor condition, raising serious safety concerns. Over 30% of West Virginia's water systems are more than 50 years old, adding to the state's long list of infrastructure issues. West Virginia's aging infrastructure is in desperate need of repair and investment to ensure the safety and well-being of its residents. West Virginia's infrastructure challenges are not limited to roads and bridges. The state faces significant hurdles in providing reliable access to modern services like high-speed internet, especially in its rural areas. Lack of access to broadband internet has become a major barrier to education, healthcare, and economic development, exacerbating the state's economic struggles. Additionally, West Virginia's coal-dependent energy infrastructure is outdated and under strain, making it difficult for the state to transition to more sustainable and resilient energy sources. Addressing these multiple infrastructure issues is critical for West Virginia to improve the quality of life for its residents and ensure future economic growth. There you have it, the top 10 states crying out for an infrastructure overhaul. It's not just about inconvenience, it's costing us $3,400 per household annually in lost productivity. With 178 million daily trips over structurally deficient bridges, it's clear our infrastructure needs more than a band-aid. It needs a revolution. The future of our economy, safety, and daily lives depends on it.